Are you ready to dive in the world of project management? Hit that subscribe button as we explore how to stay relevant in the agile workforce. I'm Andrew Everett, a project manager with over 13 years of successfully leading projects, and I'm talking about risk. And if you are a project manager that is not appropriately and effectively managing risk, your projects are at the brink of potential failure. So let's dig in. I have this study guide on the EverTech page and also on the Project Leaders page. So let's follow along. Links will be in the description. So risk is an uncertain event that may positively or negatively affect a project. Issues are a problem when encountered during the execution of project activities. So that problem, an issue is a problem when you're executing project activities. Risk is an event that positively can affect or negatively affect that project. So note the distinction between the two. And we're going to talk about common project risk attributes. So project risk exists at the beginning of every project. Risk can exist at a specific point, a point within the project, or it can persist throughout the entire project lifespan. So think of that. It can be in an event, or it can continue throughout the whole entire lifespan of the project. Risk can materially impact the project outcome if it becomes true. And that can be in a positive or a negative way. And also, there is a reasonable likelihood that risk can or could come true. So those are the attributes that we're discussing. I also want to talk about ways that you can categorize risk. And one way is you can use the stoplight method. And there is 3 colors on the stoplight. You have green, yellow, and red. Green, everything is good. Everything is okay with the risk. Yellow, there are signs of risk, and it is about to come true, and there is an increased emphasis that needs to be taken on mitigation. Red, the risk is already happening, and it will cause an impact on the project unless immediate action is taken. We're going to discuss reasons why projects fail. And a lot of it is due to poor risk and issue management. Project risk and management issues do not get defined. And, you also don't focus on critical project related activities. It is the project manager that has to make sure that they are identifying these risks and potential issues. There also can be, project risks that are defined, but there is no mitigation strategy to manage those risks. So think of that. You've already identified and defined the project risk, but you don't have a strategy to mitigate any of those risks. Also, you can have management issues that get documented, but there is no defined action that must be taken in order to manage that issue. So these are common reasons why projects fail due to poor risk and issue management. Remember these. Once again, I'm going to go back through this. Project risk or management issues, they don't get defined or don't get the focus of critical project related activities. You can also have project risks that are defined, but you have no mitigation strategy to manage those risks. And then also, you can have management issues documented, but no defined action to manage that issue. So we're going to talk about some key takeaways to remember in managing project risk and issues. First, you need to take time at the project onset to clearly define the project risk, the mitigation strategies, and accountable points of contact. The accountable points of contact. and this is at the beginning. So you need to take time to clearly define project risk, mitigation strategies, and the accountable points of contact. You need to also regularly report the status of project risk and the issues and address each risk and issue for potential to impact your project. So even if you've taken time to define those project risks, the mitigation strategies, and accountable points in contact, if you're not regularly checking and monitoring, then that's a potential issue. You also need to make sure that there is clear ownership for each risk and issue by someone on the project team. You also have to assign those risks and issues to a person that can hold and be held accountable for monitoring and owning those risks. And do not assume that the risk will disappear itself. You need to proactively manage it through the resolution. This is critical and this is key. Don't just think that it's just going to go away. It might go away temporarily, but then pop back up. You need to see it through the resolution. We're going to talk about success and issue management. Success and issue management. First, you can sequester the team from outside noise. Make sure that they don't hear all that outside noise that's going to distract them. You need to expand the issue management plan to include root cause analysis. If you're not including root cause analysis in your issue management plan, then you're not thoroughly looking into the issues. And the project manager should use a robust communication process leveraged with a project leadership team and the organization. So you have to leverage this across the enterprise, across project. And you also have to expand the lessons learned to include root cause analysis. So you have to have root cause analysis in those lessons learned, because otherwise you have not really identified the core of where those issues came from. So we're going to discuss root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is a technique used to determine the actual cause of the problem, and then when removed, prevents the problem from occurring again. So it's a technique to determine the actual cause, and then when removed, prevents the problem from reoccurring again. The technique in practice is commonly used with the 5 whys. And you ask the team why, until they no longer can ask why. That's digging all the way to the core. A very simple approach, but it gets down all the way to the core. Let's talk about risk communication. The project manager should determine with the sponsor how they will share risk-related information with the project team. The project team may be divided into a group working to solve the problem and a second group looking for the root cause. And then you also want to define when post-mortem reports will be provided to the organization. You have to share this information. You can't just keep this internal and with your project team. The issues should be defined, the steps the team took to resolve them, and also a detailed explanation of why the issue happened and the methodology to determine the root cause. Because you need to make sure that this doesn't occur again, and you can have lessons learned. And leading into that, we're going to talk about documenting risk lessons learned. Once the team has defined and determined the root cause of the issue, a lessons learned database will be used to eliminate those channels of this happening again on future projects. Lessons learned documentation is a critical step that is often missed during the project, or at least not leveraged correctly. Lessons learned are typically captured either throughout the project, at the end of the project, or a hybrid, or not at all. Believe it or not, there's a lot of projects that do not even use lessons learned. Lessons learned documentation benefits other project management practitioners and the organization. There's a huge benefit to this. So don't be one of those individuals that do not use lessons learned at all. Process improvement teams can use this information in the lessons learned database to define further potential improvements to the organization and also the project management process. Once again, if you're a project manager and you are not properly managing risk, your projects are at the brink of failure. Make sure that you follow along, like, share this content. We'll be back soon with more topics in project management. See you soon. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more project management content. See you on the next one.